the meeting too. We stopped on this slide, okay? So we will complete from here. We will talk now about how we can split a string. If you have any string, how you can split that string. So Java slash, so the part here is the string. Good? And now what we're going to do, we're going to split that string based on a specific character. So split methods is going to take a specific character. So you can put a comma, you can put semicolon, hash, whatever character you would like to split the string based on it. So you have the string here, and then dot. So you're calling this method and ask the string to ask the split method to divide the string based on whenever finding this character. What we're going to do later, we define a string array. How's the strings array is going to look like? It's like any other array. It's like integer array, character array, but the content of it is going to be string. So instead of having a number inside the array here, for example, you will have a string. So here we're going to have Java, and then in the next you have HTML, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the content of this array called tokens, sorry. Okay. So what are we going to do? We create a string from an array from type string. It's called token. This is the name, and we call a method called split to split this string based on hash. So whenever there is a hash, it's going to be on token. So within this step, after this step, you will have an array full with the strings. So it has here, it's going to have 3 strings. And the index 0, 1, 2, as we learn on the array. Good. Then after you fill up the array, you will need to go over those strings one by one and bring them out. So what we need to go over an array elements one by one, we're going to use a loop. Okay. So a loop is going to take us from index 0 until the token.length. So what tokens is the array, and the length is the variables. If you remember, this is not a method. A length with a string object is a variable, but with the strings is going to be a method. So token.length is going to return 3 for us. So we'll go from 0, 1, 2, right? So this is what we're going to go up. 0, 1, 2. So each time you get into the array, you get the index, you set token, and then instead of I is going to be 0 in the first time. So what is going to print? Java. Plus, it's going to print some space, and then we increase the index is going to be 2, so we will print HTML as well. So this is the output here. So print first Java, then you're having a little space, you have the second word, and then little space, and the third word. Good? We have another example here. You define as a string. It's not an array string, it's just a string called text. And we put on it good morning dot have fun. This is another way to separate the words is using the string, which is we have it here as a text. Here we just define it as it is. We can define it before and just putting text. That's it, but here we define it first and then we use it. Here we use it right away before, without defining any variables for the string. So first we need to remove trim. Why are we using a trim? Trim is going to remove any space. So if you're having space at the beginning here, it's going to remove it. Then dot split. Split, as I just said, it could take different type of character. Here, when you say /w plus, that means it's going to split them based on having words. So it's going to ignore space. It's going to ignore characters and specific characters here. So you see here, you get good morning, have fun without a dot and without explanations and without the space because we're using trim at the beginning. Okay, and then we just print it as what we did in the previous example. So now how you convert a character and number to string. If you have any variables like character, numbers, and you would like to convert it to string for any reason, how you can do this? The string class will provide several static value of methods. So what are we going to use? What is called value of methods, and it is going to use for all types of converting. These methods has the same name, so you are not going to use value of integer, value of double, value of characters. No, what we're going to do, we're going to use it, but it's going to have only different arguments type. So what we get to feed to it, what is going to get inside to it are different. Let's see, here is the example. So, for example, to convert a double to string, use string dot value of is the name of the methods, and inside it, here's the argument. This is double, so it's going to convert to consist of characters 5 dot and 4 again. If you're having an integer, you just need to change the argument here. If you have a character, you just going to change the argument, and so on and so forth. So let's see this example. Just stay with me. We will go over it line by line. Okay, it is important example, and it has a good comparisons between having an array char and string, how you can deal with them. So there is a big difference on getting information when you're having a char array and a string. Sometimes it's look for us like it is the same, but it's not. For a char array, you're having letter by letter, character by character. You see here? So if we define an array, char array, so it's going to be look like this, and we call it array. Oh yeah, we're already having it there. So this is the array. You remember we said the array, the string, the object are all references. They are not primitives. What does that mean? There is no content inside here. There is only references. This is an address to another place. Okay? هذا المكان اللي حق الارray, and it's important to remember الارray, string والobject كلهم مش primitives. ما راح تحتوي قيم inside it. راح تكون مؤشرات إلى مكان معين. So when we call an array, which is a char array, you will have an array and it has the content when we declare it with those letters NIGHT. Good. Then when we define string word, where is it? Word here. This is the word. It's a reference. Again, it's a reference. Does it sound okay? Does everyone have a problem with the sound? Okay, that's good. Thank you. So an array is a reference. A string is a reference. So you see the word here is a reference to night at the beginning. So you have a string night as a reference. So let's go now. We finish the declaration for the array and the declaration for the string. Good. Then when we say we would like to print the first character at an array, which is a char array, how are we gonna to do this? We're gonna to put the name of the array and the index. So here we go. The index 0, what is gonna to have? M. So the first character at an array is M. Then how we can get the first character at word, which is a string? We put string name, which is a word, dot char at. So char at as 0 is going to return the first character at the position 0 and return it as a character. So this, it is similar to this. So when you're having an array, this is a char array. This is a similar way to return the first index, but in a string. But you have to put dot char array. So char at, it's a method for this string that is going to return a specific, it's a return a character and a specific index and convert it to a character. So this is the first way, how you return a character. Then we need to figure it out how they are different when you're having a char array and a string to return a length. So if you're having a char array, array from type char, you need to put the array name, then dot length. Okay, and this is going to give us the length of the array, which is 5. Then, if we would like to get length from a string, here the string word, you use dot length, but here it's a method. Remember, length on array is a variable, and length on a string is a method. That's why you see this round brackets here. So now we need to change the content of the first index. So we said array on index 0, we will put alt. So we'll go here. What we have n, we're gonna to cross it and put alt. How we can change a character on the string? This is the way to use here to change الكاركترز. كيف ممكن ان احنا نغير الكاركترز اللي موجودة داخل الارray إذا كان character أو string. We are in a meeting number 2. This is a meeting number 2. Naive. Slide 25. فthen for the word, we use word that replace. This is the method to replace a character. First argument is going to take a letter that you would like to change, and a second argument what you would like to change it to. So we'll go to the word, we take a look tonight, we would like to change the M to O, so we will change the N to O here. And remember, string, you cannot never ever change it. Whenever you change it, it's going to create a new character. What is going to happen to this one? What is going to happen to this one? Whenever we cut the connection, there is no variables attached to it. Sorry, Sharif, what do you mean about this way for string? Yes, we are talking about string here. So if you would like to replace a letter, you're using replace methods. So this is going to be a garbage collection. This object, there is no variables attached to it, no one reference to it. So this is what we're going to talk about. So I just need you to remember this one. So then here you print the new word, which is going to be light. So this is going to be connected with this. Now we define a new string k called cat. This one. So it's just a references to word cat. And we define an array called small. And we didn't attach something we didn't have. We just convert the k to char array. So this is going to give you a clue. If you're having a string, so k is string, right? And you would like to use it as an array, you can convert it to char. How you can convert it to char? Use the method toCharArray. So it's going to convert it to char, and then you're having cat. Okay. Then here we will print the first character on small, which is going to be C. Later, we're going to change the first character on the array. راح نغير أول character في الإندكس رقم 0 راح نخليه R. So you're going to change it from C to R. So this is what is going to happen when you're assigning a new variables to the array. Finally, we're going to define a string using a new string. If you remember this, we already talked about it last class. What are you going to assign to it? You're going to assign small. So small here is what is the small type? Is an array, char array. So you can use a char array inside the new string to make it as a string. Finally, you just print which is red because here we already changing it on. Okay. In this example, we will try to find the longest word based on having an array of strings. So we're having this array of string. Have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strings inside it. So you'll be having on index 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So at the beginning you're having all, and so on and so forth until the end, which is we having here, the word here. Okay, so let's talk about this later. First, we will go to the main methods. So this is what is going to happen first. So first, this is going to happen, then it's going to call this methods. So first, we will create an array with a type string. It's called array. And what it's going to have is going to have 5 string inside it. So this is the array here. With this array. What are we going to do later? We're going to print the longest word is plus what are we going to do? We're going to call the method name longest word, and we're going to send the array as an argument. So this is the array that we're going to send it here as an argument. Okay. So let's take a look, let's search for where is the longest word. The longest word method is here. So this is the name of the method. Good. What is this method going to take? It's going to take a variable from that the type is array from type string. Okay. And what is going to return? What's this method's goal? Is return the longest word among all these words that is already sent as an argument at the beginning. So at the end of this method, you will get the longest word. So let's see how we can get this one. How you can find the longest word. How we can get the longest word? Usually the methods to get the longest, the maximum, the minimum, one of the ideas to get it, you defined a longest as an empty string, okay? Then you will go over them one by one. You will save if there is no word. If the word that is on the first index is longer than what you have, you will assign it as a longs. Let's see it here. So we'll go from 0 until the word length إلى طول إلى نهاية الأري اللي فيها string. Good. If الword الindex I للindex I which is starting with 0 which is all here. If إذا كانت هذه الwords index 0 which is all dot length كم طولها كم راح يطلع هنا؟ So الword I dot length how much is going to be? The first entries. How much this is going to be? Here. I length, what are we going to get here? How much is this part? Yes, I just get disconnected here. It's back now. So word 0 dot length is going to be. Thank you, Bushra and Abdurrahman. It's a 3. So it's going to be 3. It is bigger than longest dot length. راح نرجع إلى اللي عرفناها في البداية اللي هي longest. dot length اللي حقها إيش اللينث اللي حق هذه؟ 0. Is it 3 bigger than 0? Yes, true. So the longest now is what? All. Because we're going to store word I, which is all. Then we'll get back. We'll go to the second one. We'll get the word index I, which is 1. Dot length. How much is going to be? Quickly, guys. So the length of the word, good, 4. Is it 4 bigger than the longest dot length? What do we have on the longest dot length? Is it bigger, true or false? So here, this is 4. And the longest in the previous step was all, which is 3. So it's going to be true. So now we will change the longest to Arab. And so on and so forth until we get the longest one, which is the countries. Okay? You can trace this then later by yourself. The second methods we're going to talk about here. Then you would like to find out, start with that array. Word start with letter A. So you will create a new method called start with A, and the argument will be the array that you just created here. So the array will be here. The answer why are we using dollar sign with a D? So the letter that after comma here, we didn't put plus. After comma, the results of this method is going to store here. So that's why that you having there are two. This is two is going to back from the methods. Okay. So let's call this methods. What this methods have? So starting with A, you will give this a string. We will need to count how many words starting with A. So we need a counter, and we always remember when you have a counter, you initialize it. We will go to the array one by one as usual. We will test if the word, the first one, we will get the first one, for example, all, dot char at 0. This is going to return to us, if you remember from previous slide, it's going to give us the first character and return it as a char. It is equal to A. If it's true, then increase the counter, so on and so forth until we count how many words have the A on it. So how many words we have it? All and Arab. So we will get 3 at the end. Good? So there is a problem with a string. If you remember, we just said in the previous section that the string, whenever you define it, you cannot change the length, you cannot change the contents, right? We agree that whenever you define the string, you cannot change the length and you cannot change the contents of it. So what's the solution if you would like to add a characters on the string? If you would like to increase the size of it, we use what's called a string builder. It's more flexible. It's allow you to add, insert, and append new contents into the buffer without need to create a new string. If you remember in the previous example, whenever we change one letter from night to be light, we create a new string. However, string builder or string buffer is help us to add or insert or append. It's immutable. You can change it. You can change the length. You can change the contents. Okay. The main method for string builder, how you can build a new string builder. الكونستراكتور كيف ممكن ان احنا نبني string builder راح تسمح لنا ان احنا نضيف بدون ما نعمل new string وممكن ان احنا نغير السايز اللي حقها. The main methods, so you see here Java, if you would like to use it, you have to call Java import java.lang.string builder. So you cannot use those methods unless you import this line. So the first method is string builder. It's going to create empty string, and this is important. With what capacity? With 16. The size is 16. So if you don't define the capacity, the default for the string builder, the capacity, not length, the capacity is 16. It's give you another option. You can use the constructors. But you can, the argument, if you put an integer argument, this is mean you need a specific capacity. So you can set 4, 100, whatever. The other way to create a new string builder, you can assign a specific string. So it's going to build it based on what you send it as an argument here. How we can define it? You said string builder. So this is the type of the variable. SP, this is the name of the variable. Then you call a new string builder, like when you did the new string, the new array, and so on. And in this one, which one we use? First, second, or third constructor? In this one, do we use the first, second, or third constructor? First, second, or third constructor? What's the argument here? String, right? The first constructor has a 0 argument. The second constructor have integer. And the third one has string. So we are using the third type of constructor, which is received a string as an argument. So it is being referred to a character sequence. So it's going to be sequence of character. Okay? Yes, guys, you're right. So we're using the third one here. But the space for an addition 16 character. So you already, if you didn't specify the character here, it is going to having 16 as a default. And then we having 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the total will be 16 plus 5. This is the default. If you are not using the second one, it always would be 16 plus what you are adding there. So it's going to be 21. Okay? And this is the capacity. And here are some other important methods for string builder. So string builder is not a string. You remember here how we have it? You have a character sequence. It's a sequence, it's not a string. Sometimes you need to convert it to string. How you can do so? You use toString. It is going to convert the string builder into string, return it. If you would like to know the capacity, so you will have, for example, you having sp dot capacity. Sp is the name of the string builder that we just created, right? That capacity is going to return us the capacity of the string builder. Char at, you specify the index. So at index 0, at index 1, you need to return. So these, anything after this 2 dots, النقط الرئيسية, هذا return. هذه هي الفونكشن, هذا اسم الفونكشن, okay? This is the, sorry, اسم الميثود. So this is the name of the methods. Inside here are the argument, what is going to get, the type of it. After النقط الرئيسية, this is what is going to return. So we'll char at, what is going to get, what's the argument is going to get the index, integer, and it's going to return a char. I don't get your question, Abdurrahman. Can you write it again? The next method is length. This is similar to string. We're having the same method on string. It's going to return the length. There's a difference between a length and a capacity. We will see it in an upcoming example. Just I need you to remember this. Sorry. So I need you to remember there is a difference between this, the capacity, and the length. And this is important, okay? There is a difference between the capacity and the length. So set the length, if you would like to change the length of the string, you remember on the string you cannot change the length, but with the builder you can increase the length. ممكن انك تغير الطول اللي حقها. Substring is going to return a part of the string. جزء من الstring, a starting index from where it's going to start it. So if you're having a string, you said it's going to start it from index 5, give me the sub index. So راح يبدأ من index 5 until the end, because we didn't specify. There's another method which is called substring, but it's going to define start index will end index. من فين تبدأ قطع string until when. So from where you're going to start it until which index you're going to return it, and it's going to return as a string. Trim to string, this is going to reduce the storage size. So this is how you can reduce the size of a bird string. Trimmed to size is going to reduce the size. Okay. Yes, I'll send the recorded later, Ahmed. You can email me about your situation later, okay? Let's get to the other example. Why it's important to use string builder instead of a string. In this example, if you're having string str as an empty one, and then we having a loop starting from 1 until 10,000. And we said str, which is a string, equal to string plus the star. What is this going to do? This is going to create 10,000 because we're having here 10,000 and 1, which one? This one, plus this one. So we're having 10,000 plus the one you created here. So at the beginning here, we create str as a reference. And it's in empty places. When you go into the loop, you create another str in the first place as a pointer, and you will have star. Then when you go to the loop again, you will create a new str with a pointer and you put star. And you will repeat this 10,000 times. So راح يكون عندنا بالنهاية 10,000 نجمة زائد الاستي اللي عملناها بالبداية. So we'll have 10,001. So هذه الطريقة لو احنا استخدمنا if we're using string. Why? Because you cannot change the string. هذا sentence is wrong. It's not going to change the str. ما راح تغير قيمة ال str الأصلية. It's not going to change the original str. So this is the original str that you created here. When you're creating a new one here, the first one is going to be, this is 0, and then 1, and 2, and so on and so forth. Every time you go to inside the loop, you create a new string str. You are not writing on the previous one. This is not the appropriate way we would like to do. How you can solve this? We're using string builder. String builder, you can append on it at the end. So we're starting with using string builder, which is the type of the variable. This is the name of the variable sp. Then creating a new string, and we assigning the size 10,000. We're creating a loop to go from the beginning from 1 until 10,000 and increase 1 by 1. Every time you starting with it, it's going to be empty. So every time you start with it, it is going to be having a star, and then a second time is going to be star. It's going to append the star every time you go inside the loop. It's going to append it. It's not going to create a new one. Good? You see the difference between having the string and the builder string. This is the usefulness of having the build string. Okay? So here are some, okay, I'm supposing to do it in another way. Here are some example of using the build string. And I need you to help me filling up those boxes to see if you understand what I'm saying about string builder or not, okay? So we're defining a new string builder called ASP, and we put pop inside it. So when we say ASP dot length, what's the result here? What I'm going to get in this box? Okay. So okay, some people said, I'll see. We'll see that the groups, and then I'll see it at the end. So some people said 3 and some people said 19s. Most of you said 3. So this is the length. Okay, what about the capacity? So I'm asking about the capacity now. How much is the capacity? Okay, again, Bushra. Capacity is different than a length. You said capacity and length are 19s. Other people said, okay, 19s. Anyone have another idea? Okay, 16. Okay, I'll back to it. Let's do those because I'm just would like to see the result of the books. We will do the append and we'll back to it. Then we append is into how we can append it is. You see here is a space, then an is, an I, an S, and then another space. So that's why we having space. This is the space, and then an I and an S, and then a space. Later, you see, we append 50. And this is one of the things I need you to know about الميثود الابند. الميثود الابند ممكن انك الارجيومنت ممكن هي تستقبل string، ممكن تستقبل integer، ممكن تستقبل double، and it's going to append it as well. So we having البوب is, then we having the space here، هذه اللي موجودة بالis. And right after it, you will have a 5 and a 0 each on separate. Okay. Now we need to know what is the length for this one. For the previous example, what is the length? Okay, 9. Who thinks something else? Okay. Can you give me another answer? 9. All of you thinks is 9? 10. Most of you said 9. Okay. There, most of you said 3. And here, most of you said 19s, I believe. Okay. 7, 11, good. Okay, nice. Okay, this is the length. Okay, what about the capacity? Now stop writing about the length. What about the capacity? So how much is the capacity? Okay, capacity 25, 23. Are you guessing? You need to have a method to calculate it, guys. 19. Okay, so let's see the answer. Okay, we'll start from the beginning, okay? اللينث is different than الكاباسيتي. اللينث يختلف عن الكاباسيتي. اللينث يعطيكي عدد الأحرف اللي موجودة regardless إيش اللي محجوز. الكاباسيتي هي السايز اللي محجوز. اللينث عدد الكاركترز. So الأنسر الصحيحة, which is most of you did it, is a 3. So we're having 1, 2, 3. It's not 19. The length is going to be number of characters there, already there. اللينث عدد الأحرف اللي really موجودة. الكاباسيتي هي المحجوز. فهي ال 19, which is good. Most of you give me the right answer. Why 19? Because we having 16 plus the 3, which is already here. تمام؟ بعد كذا نجي إلى اللينث اللي هنا. كم الطول اللي حقها؟ Some said 9, 10, 7. So how many characters do we have? 1 until 9. I already counted here. You see, it's 9. So this is the right answer. So length is 9. Yes, including the space. لاحظ هنا حسبنا السبيس حمد. We already counting any character including the spaces. Then later, how much is going to be? 19s. Why? It is little tricky, guys, right? So here, when you defined it at the beginning, this is during the definition, it's 16, and when you defined it, it's going to be plus 3. But later, when you append it, you already having the space. It is not going to be array, but I mean, you already having 19 space already reserved. Here, we already having 19 space already reserved. So it's going to be plus only at the beginning. When you initialize it with a new string, it's going to be plus to the 16. Later, as long as the character that you added is less than what you have, is going to stay 19. Okay? Remember those guys, okay? So at the beginning, the capacity is going to take what you initialize it plus 16. Later, if you append it and you have enough capacity, it's not going to be increased. Good? Then there's a method to delete character as. It's going to delete the first character, which is the B here. You're going to insert at the first index at the beginning letter J, and then reverse is going to reverse the string. So what's at the end is going to be at the beginning and so on. Yes, لجين 19 مكان محجوز الكاباسيتي اللي محجوزة لها. It's going to be changed. It's going to be 16 plus, whatever you write it on the initialization process only. When using the append, if you're having enough space, you are not going to increase it. And the last one is having it as a string. And you need to remember, you see how we write it as a string, and you see how we write it as a built string. As a built string, you write each of them separately. As a string, you write all of them together. Okay. Now we need to talk about the verb classes. The verb classes, it's going to help us using all primitive data types. So instead of having the primitive type, مثلا الانteger as an object, it is going to have as an object is going to have a variables and it's going to have a method. So you can use it. It has specific methods that you can use it later. مثل ما الآن استخدمنا بالنسبة إلى string builder, you see it has a set of methods that you can use it. الانتجر هنا, so الانتجر, long, short, boolean, double, all these have a set of methods that you can use it later. الint will long will short as a primitive type, it doesn't have any methods that you can use it. Okay? The instance of all verb classes are mutable, so you can change later, okay? Whenever you create it. خلينا نشوف أمثلة عليها. So if you create or if you are using an integer as an object, as a verb classes, تستخدمها as an integer, it's going to have we convert it to use class methods. Yes, you need to use specific methods here. فمثلا الانتجر, you can get compare it to another integer. But if you just use integer as int, you cannot use those methods. But you need to remember import and then this sentence if you would like to use any of those methods. Same with a double, java.long.double if you would like to use any of those methods here. So الميثودز that are straightforward here انك integer اذا كنتي راح تحولها integer, string you assigned an argument as a string, it's going to give you an integer. A byte value, it's going to return. So this is what is going to return. You remember? Okay, so this is there. What's going to return as a byte. If you're using a byte value, short value is going to return a short. An int value is going to return an int, and so on for the rest. And here, for example, compared to if you're having a specific integer, you put that integer and compare it with another one, and depending on the Unicode behind it is going to return integer at the end, and you can convert it to string. And you remember this one? We talk about the value of في السترينج نفسها موجودة again في الانتجر وفي الدبل. So if you remember في الstring we have the value of, and it's for any type, it's just changing argument. Same things with the integer. So you don't say value of a double. No, you put the name of the object, that value of what is different is the argument here. So you can assign string or you can assign it with a specific index there. Or you can use another method called burst int, which is going to return an int, either value of or burst int. The same function, almost of the same functionality with a double here. So here are an examples. The number verb class have a useful methods called value of. So you assign a string here, and then you will get a result. So you define an object X with a type double. So you said double, that's the value of, and then you put string, and it's gonna return it's going to return a double value of that string. Same when you're having an integer, you put a string inside it as an argument, and the return is going to be a digit. And here is the opposite. You're having a string, using a value of, you assign a double, and it's going to be string. So the value of is very useful methods to convert between different type of objects. The other way to do it, you can use a burst int, as I just said, and it's going to give you the same result. So if you're using int x, integer that burst int, and you assign a string argument, you will get string integer at the end. The same with a double. If you're assigning integer here, you will get a double at the end for double burst double. So this is the end of meeting number 2. Okay. Any question? Good, thank you. So